when you talk about increasing nutrition and mobilizing farmers to adopt new cultures like growing other crops that contribute to nutrition in our homesteads, maybe you can just help us understand where we were before the project and where we are so far. I'm especially interested in this thing to do with nutrition because malnutrition is a big thing, and also helping us to appreciate our level of food security. And maybe what is food security also for those ones who might not be able to define it. How do you say we are food secure, maybe as a region?
So when we started to run our intervention, we did what you call a baseline survey. In our terms, a baseline survey essentially is to establish the situation before the intervention. Then you run the intervention. And of course, within the running the intervention, you are also monitoring. We, working towards the goal, the objective. One, when you're talking about household incomes, the average household income in Western, and when we did our baseline, was at 11,470 shillings. So you can imagine 11,470 shillings for a household of 5. They have to eat. They have to get health or medical attention. Children have to go to school. They have to meet basic needs. It is not enough. You can almost read poverty knocking at your door when you talk about it. Now, progressively, we have been able to work it out so that now the average household income is at 25,000 shillings.
Now, for those ones who have taken up, for participating farmers, households.
For participating households. The schools, for us and for the SustFarm project, are a significant, achievement because, and we have seen it that now many other players are actually gaining interest. This was very deliberate in terms of influencing mindsets, attitude, and traditionally, children don't associate very closely with agriculture, and many times in schools they use it as punishment. Come with your djembe, you will go and do this. So essentially, children want to stay away from it. But we've made it,
attractive.
Attractive is the term.
School-going
children. They now, and there are many interventions or innovations, if I would use that term, innovations. We kitchen gardening technologies, whether it's conical bags, whether it is vertical bags, and many others, including, being very creative. Some of the plastic waste, they are able to convert them into gardens. Now, many of these children have actually gone back home from what they learned in school, and they have actually started their own gardens.
Wow, that is very good. Maybe you can just tell us how many schools have you worked with so far?
Yeah, so far we have worked with 27 schools.
That is across the 3 counties. Wow, very well done. I just want to engage Martin a bit. Martin, we are talking about inclusivity and bringing school-going children on board and making them attracted to sustainable food programs. And I know you have been involved in putting farmers in groups and organizations. So how does a typical group look like when you're talking about membership at KENAF? How does this membership look like so that we can see who is benefiting from a project like SustFarm, which is coming to your members? What is the typical composition of membership at KENAF and the beneficiaries of this project?
Thank you. A typical group, to start with the word you use, would require at least 30 people. And of the 30 people, each gender should not be less than a third. That is typical. But groups do not work symmetrically. And we try to enforce it for purposes of registration to bring in the inclusivity that Stephen was saying. And the youth must also be represented. So we say not less than 5. 5
so you
is
have,
not a third.
out of 30, you at least have 5 youths.
5 youth.
Okay.
And then, however, remember this is restrictive at the time of registration. Now we also have groups that go way beyond the 30, or some that are below the 30. But those are the dynamics. You try to have groups that represent the society.
So when these opportunities come to KENAF, to the farmers, how important is that diversity so that we have collective growth in the community?
Thank you very much. My brother mentioned something like called a baseline.
Yes.
And in fact, that baseline partly informed even the kind of membership that KENAF presented for the project.
Yes.
Because from the baseline, certain, you see, WHH did not just say you go out there and do what you feel like.
Yeah, there was a structure.
There was a structure. There were certain targets that had to be made.
I want us now to start winding down, and I want Dr. Gwademba to just help us understand what next after Western Kenya. This was a pilot project. Actually, when we're talking about the impact and how much this has done to this community and the kind of improvements that we see, especially on something like income earnings between the players in the value chain, right from the farmer to the end distributors to the business plans that you've seen, over 70 of them, talking about more than 25,000 indirect beneficiaries and 6,000 direct beneficiaries, looking at schools taking up these programs and training children to get attracted to farming, looking at nutrition levels increasing because of diversification from staple crops being grown to people growing other crops that have macronutrients and micronutrients of various interests, and reducing issues like hunger and poverty. I really thought this was like, this is it, this is the summit. But from how you presented your case, this is not the summit yet. There is much more mountain to scale. Tell us, where do we go from here?
We are coming to the end of this project, and we are saying, what next from the consolidated knowledge packages and information that we have? We have seen all this happen, but we are saying we are still not there because our vision of a world free from hunger is still not achieved. So we are saying that what we can do, that this was a pilot program that had a very conducive environment because the political government within the three counties was very receptive to this idea. We want to go a next step and try to pilot similar activities that we have done in Western Kenya and the three counties in other counties where probably initially we felt probably this was not feasible. We have looked at the way the extension infrastructure has developed as a result of this program. So we are saying, why can't we replicate this program in the other counties in Kenya? Because here we only tested 3 counties out of the 47. So our next ambition is to see these lessons that we have emanated from the Sustainable Food Systems Program. Can we look at the other counties that are outside the bracket that we covered and see, can we still give the same information to the county governments within those counties, because agriculture is evolving in Kenya, and what can they learn from these lessons that we have actually generated over the 3 years? That will be one, to see if they can incorporate some of these lessons in their strategies and policies so that they can be able to see whether they can spur economic development from this program. Our next thing is also to see whether we can leverage and have a phase 2 of the program. Basically, already we have been able to forward a concept to the German government. We have already been funded for another project. Although the German government is telling us that we are not going to replicate a sustainable food system in Western Kenya again. Let's give it a different tweak so that we'll be able to see a sustainable food systems program in an arid area. Remember, Bungoma and Kakamega are not arid areas. So we are now rolling out a program in Marsabit County, which will have a totally different environment from what we had in Western Kenya, but the same learning, the same principle. Then look at how can agro-pastoral farming happen under the resilience aspect that we have got from Western Kenya. And we are now sharing these lessons with Marsabit County just to see how do we be able to incorporate these lessons in Marsabit County and come up with a food systems program addressing an arid area. We are also looking at the lessons that we have learned from nutrition, the household dietary diversity scores, the food consumption indexes that we have come. And we are now going to Turkana County, where everybody in Kenya knows very well that when we had hunger in Kenya 3 years back ago, we were even adopting children from that area. So we are working in that county on a nutrition project just to be able to ensure that the Tunga Hillfed translates the nutrition lessons that have been alluded by Stephen and also by Martin, that we have learned to be able to improve from a poultry below par of around 4.4, around 5.5, moving out to 6 and even above, to see Turkana County, which is worse off in terms of nutrition. How does the Search Farm project lessons that we have emanated for 3 years go to Turkana County, be able to improve nutrition status in Turkana County? We are also looking at the technology and climate smart agriculture principles that we have emanated from this project. And we are now going to Kiambu County, a city county, and coming up with a renewable energy program in horticulture and the dairy industry. By the way, we have done quite a lot, not only crops. We have actually supported the dairy farmers in Western Kenya. We have supported the apiculture farmers in Western Kenya, poultry farmers in Western Kenya. So we are moving to Kiambu County with a dairy program and a horticulture program, just to ensure that the lessons that we have learned here from this pilot, can we replicate it in a different environment that is similar to Western Kenya and Kiambu, but then how do we take up this, because that's the kind of urban farming with very small parcels of land.
Indeed, we can make the world a safer place for everyone in terms of food security. And I believe food insecurity, any part of this world, is food insecurity for the whole world. And we believe that this is a good cause. You believe that actually it is possible to make the world food secure. It is possible to make the world free from hunger, free from poverty. And it's possible to build sustainable production of food and sustainable consumption systems for food. And you are actually making it happen. And this is not the summit. There is still far more to look up to. And you have just painted that picture very well. I want Martin to just help us see. You've been involved in the project in Western, and your body is national. KNAF is a national organization. So what should farmers in the rest of the country look forward to, even as we are taking lessons from Western?
In learning from the project, you quickly realize that policies are critical. And one of the best that really has stood out from this project has been the soil health policy. By just this one policy coming from the interest and issues raised by farmers in Kakamega, Siaya, and Bungoma, in conjunction with the national project of supplying subsidy fertilizer. By the farmers just saying we need a fertilizer that responds to the needs of our soil. That in itself will contribute a very large extent to this food security we are talking about. And now, because the farmers in the area, in the region, have been part of the process, they know how it happens until you end up with a policy that responds to your need. And they have put it out there that the county government of Kakamega does not order fertilizer that looks exactly like the fertilizer for Marsabit or that looks like fertilizer for Siaya. Why? Because in addressing the needs of the farmer, the policy should demand that in part of servicing the farmer, soil health is key. Now, you see that can be replicated anywhere. Even if you go to Kilifi and you want to do cashew nut, they will need to have a policy on soil health. What can the soil support? And if not, what is needed to make it healthy enough to support whatever we want to produce? Through the project, we invited, I think they were from 7 other counties, to come and see what Trust Farm has been able to achieve, together with other organizations, to get farmers to do 1 or 2 things. This can be replicated. And we are saying if together we keep doing it, then even the constitutional requirement that at least a certain percentage, 15%, 16% of the budget be allocated to agriculture, we can keep lobbying for it so that it is not just a statement on paper, but now that it is an action in the country, it is a policy requirement so that it is done. This can be replicated. And lastly, maybe I could just say that as we empower ourselves, as we share the learning, as we share the knowledge, we will actually get to the point where it is not compulsory for me to eat ugali to have food security because we have learned, and we are now saying if our farmers can share this information through their groups, through their
you can get something better from cassava. Exactly. It doesn't have to be ugali.
Actually, if you are going, like one of the learners, if you want to produce starch that you can even sell outside food, starch that is used in garments actually comes from cassava, not from maize. Mm-hmm. Yet, this market has not been explored. Why? There is no policy. And then the final policy that I am excited about, but which has not yet been, formalized, is the aggregation policy. The farmers are saying, like, why are we not producing this and this? And then you find there is no policy saying if you produce, then But if we get our counties to say, whatever you are producing, NAV CDP is promoting certain value chains. Where are the farmers going to sell the produce? Make it a policy. Bring in an intervention, have a market outlet for what the farmers will produce, and see if they will not produce. As we promote the policy space, as we promote the knowledge space.
The policy space, the knowledge space,
Yes.
farmers getting organized into one group and aggregating the produces.
Yes.
This is summarized in a quote by Barack Obama, who says, if ordinary people can come together, they can do extraordinary things, isn't it?
And they can emancipate themselves.
Very well. So, Mr. Musala, it's your turn to give us your final remarks. What are you telling the farmer? And what are you telling also the other partners who are interested in a similar project that you're running in this region?
Thank you, Rick. Indeed, that is very significant, and I think a good place to begin is indeed to say that initially we were more or less in the traditional approaches, more or less. So indeed, our partnership and collaboration with Belchunga Hilfe and KENAF has immersed us in the food systems approach. And I do not think that we want to depart from the food systems approach thinking. If anything, we would want that every other organization, every other partner, every other player within the food systems ecosystem would be able to adopt this approach. And I don't think I need to repeat that as much because Dr. Gwademba already put it out very well. It's beneficial in many ways. It is holistic in its approach. It is integrating in how it approaches whether it is production, whether it is marketing, whether it is nutrition, whether it is governance, whether it is policy. And when all these things are brought together, this is the silver bullet.
This is the silver bullet.
Yeah.
When all these things are brought together.
Absolutely.
So there is still need for synergy and partnerships.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much. I'll give Dr. Gwademba the final chance to give us a shot. You are the first one to come on board. That's why we're giving you also the last bullets.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Over the last 3 years, we have seen the first farm project develop from a pilot project to a project that is actually impactful to the community. Looking at the changes we have seen since the feasibility study, the baseline study, and all over running this project, we have seen immense impact in implementing this project. However, there still requires a lot to be done in terms of transforming the food systems in Kenya and globally. This can only be realized if all partners come together, the government, the private sector, and even the civil society that are working within the agriculture sphere to come together and evaluate our production systems, evaluate why we are not being able to achieve the development goals that actually enable us to eradicate poverty from our communities, eradicate hunger from our communities, manage our environment, and ensure that we have climate resilience planning. So it's upon all of us to really evaluate the systems that we are employing in production, to evaluate the elements that probably bring about productivity, and look at what entails producing an agricultural good from the time the seed is sown, from the time the land is prepared, to the time we get the produce, and to the time we distribute this produce, and be able to look at
Tracking it across the value chain.
across the entire value chain, and asking ourselves, where are the gaps that make us lose?
And
Because
close the gaps.
and close those gaps. Because when we lose, that's when we continue to be hungry. But one of the most important things we need to always take note: let us not lose the earth because we want to produce more. Because sometimes there is the endeavor to keep on producing more and more when we are draining the earth. Let's ensure that whatever methods we use to produce food are sustainable, are resilient, are inclusive, and they are ensuring that our future generation will still benefit from the same factors of production that are here, that will enable them to continue having food on the table, selling more of this food, and ensuring that the world is actually free from hunger.
The
Together
world.
we can all make this if we only come together
Yeah.
and put our effort together and really look at the loose ends and close the gaps.
Yeah, I think I like the way you all agree that synergy is important. That is in Mr. Musala's words. And ordinary people can come together. Farmers who are ordinary, who are small, can aggregate and do greater things. And you say that we need to do this together. It is possible to progress without destroying the planet. We actually have factors of production which are natural resources, but the thing is that they are not ours. We have borrowed them from the future generation, and so we must protect that. Thank you so much. This has been a conversation about sustainable food approaches and building systems that can be able to be resilient and increase inclusivity, but also protect our environment, making sure that nutrition levels are improved, and also being able to involve our farmers and everyone who is in the value chain, either as producers, as consumers. And we have heard Mr. Amusala Stephen, who is CEO ADS Western. We have heard Dr. Gwademba, who is area manager and food systems expert from Welt Hunger Hilfe, WHH. That is a German organization that is doing a lot in this side of the world. And we've also heard Mr. Wegula Martin, who is from KENAF, and making sure that farmers are not missing a chance, organizing farmers in a way that can position them to be able to grow. And this is Rick Okinda. I've been your moderator. It's been a pleasure to learn together. As I've been moderating, I've also learned, and we look forward to carry this conversation from here to the grassroots. Let's go out there and be ambassadors of this message. Let us go and implement this. Let's go and organize ourselves into groups as farmers. Let's also be able to participate in making sure the world is free from hunger, free from poverty, and has sustainable food production systems, and we are responsible consumers of food. Avoid wastage and make sure that the world is safe. Thank you so much. Maybe also we can be able to have your feedback on the comment section so that any other questions that you may have to this group can be addressed through the comment section.